Well, it was going to be a normal conversation about Calvin Ridley, Atlanta Falcons wide receiver who is now suspended indefinitely because he's been caught gambling on games. Then Tom Brady tweeted that he's unretired himself after retiring some 40 days ago. Here to discuss all of this with us is Andrew Beaton, NFL reporter for the Wall Street Journal. Andrew, welcome to Takeline. Where were you on Sunday, and what were you doing when Tom Brady tweeted the following quote? These past 2 months, I've realized my place is still on the field and not in the stands. The time will come, but it's not now. I love my teammates and I love my supportive family. They make it all possible. I'm coming back for my 23rd season in Tampa. Unfinished business. Let's fucking go. Where were you when that happened at approximately 4:13 p.m. Pacific? And what were you doing? And had you any inkling that this would happen?
Well, it was 7:13 or so Eastern time
Right.
then, which meant I was peeling some sweet potatoes and getting ready to cook a dinner. It was supposed to be a quiet Sunday night before NFL free agency starts
Wonderful.
getting
Yes.
going. Did I see this coming? I think everybody should have probably seen this coming, right? He hasn't exactly been subtle over the last month that he said, 1 week after his Instagram post where he now announced his quote unquote retirement, he's on his podcast saying, never say never. So it took him a week before he started equivocating. And then every hint since then has been that, all right, maybe we shouldn't be shocked if we see Tom Brady on the football field again.
You know what's funny is when he announced his retirement now 40 something days ago, I was watching Wickersham on ESPN talking about how, man, Tom is more excited about his post playing career than maybe he has been about his actual playing career over the past couple of years. Like, he's talking about all the opportunities he's going to have and his foundation and its various business ventures that he's about to launch. And then so that's gone in a second. You mentioned the timing, NFL free agency looming. It seems like the timing of this announcement was with an eye towards that, correct?
I mean, it's kind of hard to separate the two, right? Looking at this and looking at when he said this, right? If you're a free agent and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers
Right.
do not have Tom Brady, are they
Right.
an attractive destination?
Uh, no, we're going to say no. Yeah.
We're going to vote no on that. And then if they have Tom Brady, you're thinking, all right, this is a team that can win a Super Bowl. So if he is going to make this decision to come back, it's in his own best interest to get it out ahead of free agency because he wants to plant that flag and say, hey, folks, come to Tampa Bay. We can make another run at this thing.
This is my favorite question that I've heard asked of national NFL reporters in the last couple of hours since this news broke. But what do you think? What do you think is driving this? What do you think? What do you think happened? Did Tom walk in one day, walk into his palatial mansion, get one look of his beautiful wife and children, and just say, "Man, I gotta be. This is. Did I mess up? I guess I messed up. I guess I got to go back and play football." Any idea like what it could possibly be driving this? And secondarily, what do we say to the gentleman who I think bid like $500,000 on the final touchdown ball of Tom Brady? Like, that guy needs to sue immediately.
Well, I just want to say if that guy bid $500,000 on a football, I just hope that there's more money where that came from if you're spending $500,000 on that
Right.
football. So maybe it's someone that we don't have to feel absolutely terrible about it for. But, one of the things that I've thought about a lot since he made this decision, and then pretty much immediately there started to be speculation about will he or won't he come back, is we can try to assign all these motivations, intentions, and psychology, but a lot of these decisions sometimes just come down to the whims of one human being,
Right.
right? And this is a guy who, if you follow his Instagram account, he's hawking pants, he's hawking
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies,
Yes.
NFTs, pretty much anything. And maybe just like all of us, he got bored with NFTs. I don't know. But this sometimes comes down to the whims of one guy. And the decision back February 1st when he put that Instagram post would have been seem like, all right, maybe he felt like that day he was done. Today he feels like he's not done.
Okay, let's switch over to what I think is a really fascinating story about Calvin Ridley. wide receiver who has now been banned indefinitely from the NFL after placing bets totaling about $1,500, according to him. I haven't seen any confirmation anywhere else that that is or is not the amount that was wagered, but according to him, it was about $1,500. And Ridley had been taking some time off to deal with his mental health, and now will be banned for the foreseeable future and perhaps the foreseeable long-term future. This feels as black and white an issue as has come down the pike in the NFL in a while. It's really pretty simple. Like whether it's a penny or $1 million, the NFL pretty much has to be completely like hard line with something like this. No?
I really think they have to, because, NFL players get in all sorts of trouble. Fans get past it, whether they should or they shouldn't. Teams sign players who have done way, way worse things than lay a bet on a football game. But if you think about the NFL as a business, the absolute worst case scenario for that could generate the craziest fan outrage is something untoward in this space. If you find out that a Super Bowl, an NFC championship, heck, even a Jaguars-Jets game had some funny business going on with it in the gambling space, fans would grab their pitchforks and it would sort of open up an entire Pandora's box of, all right, is what we're watching legitimate? Or what's the difference between this and pro wrestling then, if the guys in on it are laying those sorts of bets? And it's this very strange world, because if I told you 5-10 years ago that the NFL,
Right,
which was so staunchly anti-gambling, would have gambling partners and basically be so gung-ho about this industry, you'd have said that's crazy. The NFL is the biggest anti-gambling advocates out there. So it's this strange space while they're cashing in on it, but they also have to have this really sharp line in the sand on the issue.
Takeline is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Shouts to my guy, Calvin Ridley. I want to tell you about the easiest and most fun way to spice up your season. It's blowing your NFL career, playing fantasy football and or basketball, or betting on March Madness through an app. It's Underdog Fantasy and their brand new pick'em game. Just pick over or under on your favorite or least favorite player stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Underdog keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. Pick between 2 and 5 players, and you can take home some serious cash. Use code TAKELINE and get your first deposit doubled by Underdog. Sign up now with the code TAKELINE, and you'll double your first deposit up to $100 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit of $10, just $10 or more. Deposit $100, get $100 for free. Let's unpack that for a second, because it has been one of the most whiplash-inducing 180s in sports writ large that I can remember. We all recall Pete Rose being banned for life, but to your point, like all our major sports took immense pains to keep themselves at arm's length from gambling, whether it was the NBA's extreme sprint through the Tim Donaghy investigation, or a kind of unwillingness to put a professional team for a long time in Las Vegas. Even the suggestion that gambling could in some way interact with pro sports was seen as anathema, and now all of a sudden it's like, here we go, open the floodgates. I'm sure that the NFL must have been planning for this contingency, right? They knew that this day would come. They knew that somebody would break the rule at some point. So I wonder if you have any insight at all into what those kind of contingencies might be.
One of the things that's interesting is Calvin Ridley got a lot of attention because he's Calvin Ridley. He's an extraordinarily good football player. This actually happened with an injured Cardinals player 2 years ago, and that was the first time it happened after the federal repeal on the gambling ban. So this happened before.
Josh Shaw
got the same penalty, which was basically a year. I mean, he hasn't made it back into the league because he wasn't Calvin Ridley. He's not awesome at football. But what's interesting about this whiplash is, if you think back on it, what's funnier than the NFL making this pivot is that they didn't do it sooner, because
so
the
true.
one thing the NFL is so good at is
Yeah.
making money.
Yeah.
And then one day they started to look at it and say, we can make an extraordinary amount of money doing this. You add new gambling partners. And in the bigger picture, one of the things that the league realized was all the fans that they've been trying to capture, fans on their second screens, younger fans, people who might only be kind of paying attention to a game but want to engage with it in a different way. Those were audiences that the NFL, sort of like every other league, desperately wants to attract. And they looked at it and said, wait, this is exactly what gambling does. So gambling in many ways wasn't just a way to, cash a check from Caesars or what have you on some ads and some sponsorships. They actually realized, wait, this is an incredible way to actually try and grow our fan base. So it's amazing that it actually took so long when the profits for them are so big in so many ways.
So Ridley was caught essentially because there is like a third party security firm that works with the app that Ridley had used to gamble in the state of Florida, and that kicked that information over to the NFL, who then did what they did with it. I would imagine, one, that the NFL is going to make an example of Calvin Ridley, and I would imagine, two, that the news that there are essentially like third party companies that are working with this data in this way will come as something as a surprise to a lot of people, including professional athletes who may think about gambling.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to remember here is that there's nothing bigger to bet on than football when it comes to what people are laying their bets on. I mean, March Madness, which we've got coming up, is big. The NFL is still always king in terms of TV ratings, in terms of handle. We all know it. And all these books essentially have to be in some form or some way basically in business with the NFL because of that. And so they have to do all their own security and monitoring for themselves. And it's in their own interest to work with the league, to work with those third-party security data analyst vendors like Genius, which was doing it for the NFL in this case, because, their business with the NFL is what's most lucrative for the sports books. So it's in their best interest to do what they can to uphold that. And, also theoretically, if you're a sports book, you want to know if an NFL player is betting
right?
because they might know something. You don't want that.
Andrew, how was dinner? How were the sweet potatoes?
I mean, we're talking right now, so the sweet potatoes have not yet been eaten, but
Okay,
they're sweet potatoes. What can go wrong?
He is Andrew Beaton, NFL national writer for the Wall Street Journal. Andrew, thanks so much for joining Takeline. Go eat the sweet potatoes. Go cook them and then eat them.
Perfect. Will do. Thanks so much, man.